you see the red dots, it will be started. Okay.
So I think we are ready to get started now then. So welcome everyone to this week's PTC Nordic Talks webinar, where we are honored today by having Sachin Kulkarni at Tech Mahindra for an inspirational session on right platform, roadmap and ROA model for such successful Industry 4.0 rollout. But first of all, a quick introduction about myself. My name is Torbjörn Peterson and I'm the Alliance Manager for PTC in the Nordics, and we are running these webinars every week, same time, where we also invite customers and partners for some inspirational sessions on any hot topics in digital transformation to see what is possible and how to make things happen. And all the past webinars have also been recorded and are to be found on the registration site for this event. And the agenda for today is first a very quick overview of PTC by my colleague Carl from the IoT AR team. And then Sachin will start by introducing himself and then touch base on a few challenges, how to address these, and then explain the business outcomes. And at the end, we will also have a Q&A session. So please keep your questions to the end of the session. And this webinar is, of course, also being recorded and is to be found in about a few days. So over to you, Carl.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe next slide, please. Anyway, PTC, short introduction, is a 35 years old international software company whose headquarters is based in Boston. So we provide software mainly for manufacturing enterprises with a focus on the digital transformation. So we started with CAD and PLM, and now since a few years, we're introducing SaaS, IoT, and augmented reality. All right, I pass to you, Sachin. You're muted.
Still muted, Sachin.
Sachin, you're muted. See if I can unmute you. No.
Unmute still. So maybe.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right. So thank you, Toby. Thank you, Carl, the PTC team in Nordic for inviting me to be a speaker on this session, inspirational session. I loved the word inspirational, and that's what I intend to do. And welcome all my audience, and I would like to request to give me a patient hearing and keep your questions towards the end, and I will try to answer all I can. So just a quick check. Is my screen visible and am I audible?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. So when we had a conversation with PTC to prepare for this conversation, then we said, what is the topic that we should bring in? We said, let us bring a topic that will, address why part of it and how part of it. So if you see the title that I have given to this talk today is a right technology platform, a pragmatic implementation roadmap, and ROI model are basically the tenets to a successful industry program. If you miss any of these element, then it is left to a coincidence to be successful. So a few words about myself. So my name is Sachin. I am based out of here in Pune, India. Which is it's a factory of large manufacturing. We have several Scandinavian and Nordic factories around this city, Sandvik, Alfa Laval, Atlas Copco, and so many. So I come from the auto industry. I've spent several years in the beginning of my career with a German luxury car manufacturing company here in India, and I also spent few years in their headquarters in Germany. So my most pedigree of factory supply chain new product development has come from this first-hand manufacturing experience. So over last 10-12 years after I moved out of the core operations into a digital world, I actually delivered a lot of consulting, solution, thought leadership programs, and my focus has been always in supply chain and manufacturing. And in the current times, I am managing the Industry 4.0 and Supply Chain 4.0 initiatives as a part of my practice as a vertical leader for Tech Mahindra. What I believe is a differentiated approach that that as a company we have been able to develop is how do we create use case ideation from an art of possible and take it through a funding model to finally creating a very pragmatic architecture and platform definition. everything very seamlessly connected and very integrated. So that's the differentiated approach that I will give it to you a little bit of sense today. And most important thing what I still see in any industry 4.0, it is channelizing the techno-functional and not just a techno-functional, but I also call it as the emotional bandwidth of CXO's ecosystem in the right direction. And that needs an orchestration in some peculiar way. And that's what as a company and as an ecosystem working with companies like PTC, we try to deal. Move to the next slide. I think Toby in the beginning talked about the agenda. I'll just place, I'll introduce the company. I introduce myself. Then I'll talk about industry 4.0 initiative challenges and opportunities for specifically for manufacturing industry. And I'll focus more on the automotive and discrete manufacturing. How do we approach and what is the unique methodology that we follow and what tangible business outcomes that we create. So this is the agenda for the conversation. Talking about Tech Mahindra as a company. So Tech Mahindra is a large system integrator, digital transformation and consulting company. It's today it's over 5 billion revenue. It is present in the 90 countries. We have headquarters here in Pune in India, where I live. Today we have over 120,000 associates working globally. I just also wanted to give you a snapshot of why we exist in the industry and why people like us, because some of the logos that you see across these sectors. And as I say, the manufacturing industry vertical within Tech Mahindra has these 4 sub verticals: the automotive, industrial or discrete manufacturing, aerospace and defense, and the process. I come from the automotive and part of the industrial. So this is the area of my expertise. Now, so like I said, so manufacturing as a as a practice or as a BU, it contributes to about 20% of our revenue. It's about $1 billion in terms of revenue. And the way we have carved out our capabilities and our engagement and therefore our experience is predominantly revolving around these 3 areas. So most of the work that you will see, we talk or we deliver is in the product, the smart product area, the factory and supply chain, which is industry 4.0, and this part will go in the performance, which is in the field. It is in the after sales area. So this is how we have been able to differentiate ourselves with respect to some very peculiar capabilities, alliances, partnership, and frameworks that we have created in these specific areas, across the manufacturing value chain. Now I want to go into details of the topic of industry 4.0, the opportunities and challenges, and I want to give you the external challenges that are driven from the macro environment, and I also would like to talk to you on the internal challenges which are very peculiar to our organization. So when I talk about external challenges, I think today, as we come out of COVID pandemic, global challenges, we see a highly unpredictable market demand. While that's happening, the expectation from the customer in terms of customization is going on. So there's a humongous expectation on almost building one product, one customer type of a situation. Okay. If I go to the right side of the chart here, suppliers tier 1 and tier 2 are becoming more demanding and they're becoming more critical. Humongous amount of innovation and engineering is happening there. So they also sort of come and drive the entire yield and output of the whole ecosystem for the OEMs in the auto and the discrete. And they are very, very diverse. They are across the globe today, and that creates extreme challenges in terms of the visibility and what's happening there, and all of those challenges that we have seen in the recent times. As the products become more software driven, or they're becoming more embedded, and the components of electronics and software engineering is much more in the product, they are becoming highly complex. And if I put all together, and if I wear an execution management hat, then what we have to deal with is a very less reaction time. And if we have to deal with any technological intervention, it has to basically take this ecosystem and allow me to move towards management by unpleasant surprises to management by predictable business. And that's where the reaction in the lesser reaction time will play a very, very critical role. Now, talking about, specifically when we talk about a digital transformation, which is Industry 4.0 led, what are the typical internal challenges that we see? And let me start from the left part of here. So we see many times there is no clearly articulated vision. People know what they want to do, but is there a vision which is defined as a centralized place? Many times we don't see that. Okay. Uh, we see organizations approaching Industry 4.0 as technology-led initiative, as opposed to a tangible or a significant business outcome-led initiative. So technology is about experimentation, and therefore, you will see every factory, however federated or centralized operations they may be, there will be several proof of concepts always there. Always some, plant managers or some young engineers trying to do something or the other in the factories, but they remain at a POC level. They do not scale, and therefore the impact of the Industry 4.0 is neither felt by the plant manager and not to the enterprise leaders who actually fund and sponsor some of those technology initiatives. There is no very clearly, since there's no well articulated vision, let alone a very clearly defined implementation roadmap and what technology platform that we choose. And there's no dearth of technology platforms today. And last but not the least, I strongly believe that people force or leadership force or a top-down thinking is extremely critical to make this program a success. So there is need for a very strong organization construct and a governance model behind this initiative. And I also captured, a summary of some of the CEOs that typically we come across is a very bold questions, and they are not there for just to take and implement the technologies. They are asking, what is the maturity that we have with respect to our competitors, and what is in it for me? Is there a pragmatic business case? Now that there are internal challenges, and now that we have to start to look at how systematically we approach the Industry 4.0, then the next natural and a logical question that comes into play: what is Industry 4.0? What do I do? Do I implement IoT platform? Do I bring some ML and AI algorithm in some places, or do I bring some IoT platform, and so on and so forth? Um, the answer is really no. This is very discrete thinking, and it's not going to get anywhere. So there must be a very capability based thinking to Industry 4.0. And what you're seeing on the slide are these critical 7 capabilities that are absolutely must. Let me start from the bottom. There must be a thinking about how will I organize my network and control and security. If I go to the left side, how will I get the visibility to my incoming supply chain, to my factory? If I go to the right side, how do I ensure that I have a quality and I use insight and intelligence from my warranty, so that I basically get my quality organized in a way that I have written down in first place. And if I come inside these factory walls, then I need to know how I'm going to organize my digital manufacturing. How will my manufacturing operations management should be there? What level of shop floor automations that we bring in? And the last but not the least, the manufacturing intelligence and analytics. So what is it that I'm going to basically get to move from a management by unpleasant surprises to management by predictable business? That's where the manufacturing intelligence and analytics will come into play. So to summarize, these are the key 7 capabilities that you will need. And I'm keeping the organization change and all those things outside of this. They are absolutely foundational, where the human will be at the center of everything. But from a technology implementation standpoint, these are 7 capabilities that one must consider. Now to approach this, now I have the 7 capabilities. I have an appetite coming from the head of the manufacturing, a corporate vice president, or to a certain extent even a plant manager wanting to bring Industry 4.0. How do we do it? So typically we say we do it top down and bottom up interactions. So when we say top down, we will actually use a lot of soft factors. We will use talk to people, we will interview senior leadership, we'll conduct ideation workshops, and we'll actually do a Gemba which is a walkthrough of the key areas of the plant. Okay, and this is basically a top down, making the observations through your own touch and feel of these areas, and these are the areas that will be part of the Gemba. So to define Gemba is a Japanese word, which basically says that in order for you to be able to understand what's going on, and that's the foundation to improving it, you got to be at the site. You got to touch and feel things that are happening. So this middle part, walkthrough of the key areas, is Gemba, and these are some of the areas that typically, we will basically make the observations. And when I say bottom up, you need some maturity assessment tool based for all the 7 capabilities. For companies to be able to understand where are they with respect to a standard or benchmark practices or benchmark capabilities, we need a data about the performance of the factory, a historical data, to basically go ahead and build some sort of an initial hypothesis to see what could potentially be a directional business case that will shape up here. So that's the way that we approach with our partners like PTC here to go and implement or basically set up a blueprint for any Industry 4.0 initiative across our customer bases. Now, the next logical question, now that I have a top down and a bottom up approach, is there a systematic way that you will approach it? And I generally just talked about the plan Gemba. So these are some sort of 8 steps, secret sauce or a cookbook, if you will, that we have experimented and have been fairly successful in going through and creating meaningful Industry 4.0 to a level that we were able to secure the funds. So you go through the Gemba, you bring the capability model that I discussed, and you apply that on the Gemba, and then you basically create a use case discovery. Of course, you will bring outside in view. You will have a repository of use cases, and you will try to see what will come in. But you blend that with your capability model, and you actually get bottom up view of that. The more important is that just alone having a repository is not enough. We should be able to link it to a business goal. Only then you can actually prioritize. So you prioritize these in terms of ease of implementation and the business impact that it will create. And then you actually start to slowly funnel it down as there is no dearth of industry use cases. But what is important is how do I funnel it down systematically? And for that, you need a business case model or ROI funding model. And for those use cases that have gone through a test of the funding, that you are able to see that it will fund itself, there will be sponsor who will want to buy this capability, etc. You pick up a technology and start to build the reference architecture. And you will see what technology, what all I need at what level, which platform will work for me, which use cases will get enabled by what sort of platform, is one platform good enough, or there is a multitude of platform that you will need. If you start to put this thing together and start to understand what does it mean, you have an implementation roadmap, which could be a wave-based roadmap. It could run from several months to several years across different capabilities. And that's the way that you take. And once you have this, you already know what you want to implement. You already have the technology architecture, and you actually sort of go and start, industrializing it, or let's say doing at least some MVPs and do industrialization of those. Very quickly, I want to show you now the outcomes. So if you remember, I talked in the previous slide, the 7 capability model that you typically applied through a top down and bottom up, the Gemba and the leadership conversation. All that you're trying to do is actually around these 7 capabilities, you're trying to see what is the maturity of the organization. 5 being the high, 1 being the low. What numbers you see is a repository of Tech Mahindra's, several implementations. You can see they are hovering between 2.5 to 3.5, right? This is the industry benchmark that we see, or maybe 3.2 or something. This is what it is, and so you have to go to 5. That doesn't mean that everyone will need to go to 5. You can go and stay based on what you appetize it. But this gap is where the roadmap should get placed. And this is how the roadmap will look like. I showed you the roadmap in the previous slide, but if I blow that up, you can see the roadmap will go across the classical foundational elements of the Industry 4.0, like product, condition, human beings, parameters, and so on and so forth. And on the y-axis, you see some of the foundational backbone. You see connection between engineering and manufacturing, and you bring the connected management. And all these are actually the charters. Now have become, the use cases now have become the charters, because now you have the foundation capability and you have the vectors to make that implementable. Is that good enough? Will someone buy if you create a very systematic roadmap like I show the charter view? Probably answer is no. Then what comes is a very pragmatic, a granular business case. What I'm trying to show you is this is I just picked up one example how the business case will look like. So on left side you have the benefit part, and benefit could be build rate or takt time reduction or cycle time reduction. It could be hidden factory cost. It could be operational overheads reduction. It could be scrap and quality reduction, and so on and so forth. This is something that we have delivered as a full scale mega implementation program around one customer. But what are some indicative business case tenets, if you will? On the right side is your cost, and typically the cost will, and you can observe these percentage as some guideline in terms of how will they shape up or how will they stack up. So you have software licenses, you have software services, something that we will do. You have licenses, something that Rockwell and PTC will bring in. You have field devices that are cameras and all those level 0 interventions. You have infrastructure, which could be on-prem or cloud, etc. And you have some incidental. So that's how the business case will look like. And if I have to address those charters, make this business case realize you need a technology reference architecture. You have level 0 where you have all these assets. You come to level 1, you start to bring the PLCs, you move up, you start to bring the SCADA, HMI, DSS, and the historian. And here onwards, you start to bring enterprise level platforms like you have IoT management platform, you have MES platform. As you go up, you go to a system of record and you go into enterprise wide solution. And you can see where PTC has a play here. I tried to make an attempt to basically articulate how the different platforms from one particular brand will play and implement that technology architecture. To summarize, they go through a systematic way. You make a Gemba, you involve leadership, keep people at the center, but you basically deliver a very pragmatic business case, and you link your program charter to business case, and from there you actually arrive at the technology architecture towards implementation. So with that, I have completed what slides I wanted to cover. I may overshot about 1 or 2 minutes, but now this is time for Q&A.
Thanks a lot, Sachin, for sharing a lot of interesting findings on this very specific and hot topic. So as you said, let's open up for some questions from you in the audience. I hope you have quite a lot of them. So who would like to go first? Anyone? Otherwise, I could start up actually. And I'm just wondering, in terms of, time, how long time does it normally, take to develop and implement the right kind of, platform roadmap and ROI model for an Industry 4.0 ready rollout?
This is a good question. So essentially, what we're saying here is we typically, take two aspects to it. We take a plant that is, let's say, a leading plant, a lighthouse, if you will, from a particular corporation, and we ask for a lagging plant. So we always look for a 2 plant to basically build a pragmatic view. In an event of taking lighthouse and a lagging plant, typically developing this blueprint takes about 4 to 6 weeks, Toby.
All right, thanks. And also, I used to ask actually this question: what kind of stakeholders would you recommend? To be part of the project. To be able to be successful at the end for this rollout.
Sure. Again, a good questions. So from a corporate standpoint, if there is a central agency that is involved in driving the blueprint, typically you would end up talking to someone like corporate vice president, who will actually be owner of that particular product line, who will be complete in charge of implementing Industry 4.0 across that brand, across those plants, not just the software part, but also hardware and also some capex investment like automations, AGVs, and so on and so forth. So this part. The second leader, who's typically is, if there's a classical CDO function, Chief Digital Officer function, he or she becomes a very critical part of it. Because that's typically coming from a budget from a CDO. If the business is not sponsoring, if the budget is held by CDO, that person becomes very critical. you are not able to leave CIO outside of the equation, because if you remember, this is a whole architecture from level 0 to level 5. You will need a vertical integration, you will need a horizontal integration. So your CIO becomes a very critical element to it. So these are from a leadership and a sponsor standpoint. And at the lower level, at the ground level, you will bring plant managers, you will bring line managers, you will bring some of the maintenance control network engineers inside the factory to be part of the Gemba. So it's like bottom up and top down. Leaderships and personas will get involved into it.
All right. Okay, thanks. Anyone in the audience having any questions? Raise your hand, see if you have anyone there. Or if you want to put it in the chat box, you could do that as well.
Yeah, Torbjörn,
please, go ahead.
Sorry. Hi. Torbjörn, I have a question. I really would like to get connected because I work with Tech Mahindra in Sweden. And I would like to see what we can do with the Swedish team.
Fantastic. What a good opportunity.
Yes.
So of course we should make that happen. Definitely.
Yes.
Thanks.
Do we know who's speaking? Do we know? I didn't get the name.
Maybe I have the name. It's Yolanda from Microsoft in Sweden.
Okay.
Hi, Yolanda. I'm here, Ash.
Hi.
Super. I like the networking. So I had a very, holistic question, a big question. In what way would you say that the COVID-19 situation has actually had an impact of, the rollout of Industry 4.0 in the industry?
Very, very interesting question. Yeah. So I think most of Industry 4.0 conversations that we were doing before let's say a pandemic hit us, and I'm talking about 2018 June July time frame. Most of them were revolving around equipment maintenance, supply chain track and trace. Of course, network control and security, and some of those. But post pandemic, what is coming out is the people, right, human becoming at the very center of the stage, and then trying to figure out what is it that you will do to how will this technology will basically address their well-being, their safety, their engagement, their capability building, and things like that. So all of a sudden, all my use cases which were in the roadmap towards the 24th month on AR VR, all of a sudden have started coming very close in the roadmap. Okay, all of my use cases which were towards bringing AI and ML to be able to make the complex decisions, which were towards the third wave or towards the later part of the roadmap, now becoming very, very early on, because now they want to empower human beings to be able to take those decisions. Some of those also becoming like automation. I mentioned the industrial automation and some of those things. All of a sudden they are becoming in a forefront, where customers are now redesigning their work cells. How will the material flow? How will the people occupy the place? How will the social distancing will look like? What is the employee safety when people start to come back to the office? So how this whole layout will look like, and can Industry 4.0 technologies enable that in a way it will impact those people-centric software factor that I mentioned? That is now becoming a priority topic, to be very specific.
All right, thank you very much. We had actually one last question also, from the audience, and we have a question regarding, how do you actually measure the achieved value of your Industry 4.0 projects? In other words, how to confirm the benefits?
Brilliant question. So, so if you remember, I talked to you about the business case that I showed in the beginning. So that's a very directional business case. If you start to peel the onion in that business case, you will actually go at a charter level. Remember, I talked to you about the charters there. So some business case, so you take the foundation layer. Remember, the IoT and MES and some of those things will become very, very, very foundational. It is very highly unlikely that you can take one or two use cases and push an IoT or MES platform and start to say that I have an Industry 4.0 business case. It is not likely to go through. It will miserably fail. So if you take a program portfolio approach, And that's exactly what I was showing to you on a charter. If you take a program portfolio approach where you have multiple use cases, under each use case you have a benefit. For example, just to take argument, condition monitoring is a business case, is a charter. Now under the condition monitoring business case, you got to see what is OE, what is the impact that it has created because of the maintenance, the impact on the yield that we lost, and so on and so forth. You start to come down to financial. You actually build that across all the use cases and you sum that up, and that becomes your very, very pragmatic ground up business case. At Tech Mahindra, I call this as a fishbone to financials, and I did not have a chance and time to actually articulate how a fishbone for each of the charter actually yields into a very, very, very pragmatic business case, and that stacks up to the business case that I talked to you. But yes, point valid. Look for foundational and build on top of charter and create a fishbone business case on each of the charter and then stack it up to say that I have a pragmatic business case. Otherwise, I have seen some of my customers struggling to approve it.
Thank you very much. So actually, sorry to say, but time is unfortunately running out. So thanks everyone for joining, and of course a special thanks to Tech Mahindra and Sachin. And for everyone else, stay tuned for the next Nordic Talks webinar already next Friday. So with that, I wish you a sunny weekend and stay safe, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.